So, welcome Adrian Carr to our office in Stuttgart. Nice to have you here.
Thank you, Jens. It's great to be here, and actually my first time in Stuttgart.
Yeah, great. I hope you enjoy it. So the idea is to talk about our partnership today, and we are hoping to get some interesting insights from you about our partnership. So coming to my first question, what is the importance of partnerships to Stibo Systems?
It's huge. Internally, we have a program we call Partner First, and this is about us learning how to put our partners before us. And this isn't altruistic. We're not doing this for the good of our partners. We're doing this, of course, for the good of ourselves. That if we can make the Stibo business, Stibo Systems business, a bigger part of your business, then you will invest more in sales and marketing and we will grow. So to put that in perspective, as we journey to being a true SaaS company, when you look at all the big companies, SAP or Workday or ServiceNow, typically their revenue percentage of services is somewhere between 3 and 10%. And today we are on a downward cycle of percentages. Our total revenue is growing 15, 17% a year, but the amount that we make on services has moved from 27, 28% down to 21, and we'll probably head down to somewhere like 15%. So our goal is to make our product easier to implement, to do more of the implementations led by our partners, but ensure we still have a very capable professional services team there to support and to help.
Mm-hmm. Our partnership especially has developed quite a lot in over the last years. What do you think makes our partnership special?
I think two things, and it is a special partnership. I think two things. One is your technical competence. You know, when I joined the company, and maybe part of the reason I got the job was I presented that I would speak to 100 customers in 100 days. And even before I knew what Stibo Systems did, and I heard a lot from the customers, and Gartner say that 60 or 70% of MDM projects fail. That's frightening. I think in our world, more than 50% have a bumpy journey. You know, they don't fail, but that doesn't seem to happen with the projects that for you and your customers are involved in. So number one is you have really good technical competence. You don't put someone on a project unless they have the skills. And I think the second thing is the thing that is so hard to grow, and that is trust. That we have a really trustful relationship between our team and your team. It's kind of free of bullshit, and it's honest, and you know that's critical, I think, for great partnerships.
Absolutely. That brings me directly to my next questions, because that's also what I see, that trust and also reliability is very important to our partnership. Can you maybe dig a little bit deeper how these factors have contributed to our success?
I think firstly, when we get together, we know what we're going to get. The Stibo's team, and often it starts with the sales team, and that their sales teams are often hard to work with. You know, they want a deal, they want it now, they want to control it, and bring in a partner. Is that going to delay it? Are they losing control? But I think the first thing is we know exactly what we're going to get with your team. I think, and when we engage you, the customer always benefits. So there's, you know, the customer's not coming back to us saying we've got problems with this partner. Do you have another partner? Saying, this is good. We're building a long-term relationship. And I think that's also part of your business model, a long-term relationships. That's what's important to us. You know, the company Stibo has been around since 1790s, and we were all about the long term, not profitability this quarter or this month. It's how do we continue long-term growth? And I think that's what we see. So in a way, we're similar companies. We're not hard-nosed or driven too much by the short-term financial wins.
Yeah, absolutely. The second thing I would like to come back to from your last question is You visited 100 customers in 100 days. Can you give us a little bit more insights on that?
Yes, wow. So I have to tell you the story first, that I was on a short list for the job. I was applying for this role, and they asked me to come and present what I would do in 100 days. And I created a big PowerPoint, and it was really not very interesting. I'm going to meet people and learn the technology. And my wife works in technology, and she's a lot smarter than me. And I said to her, I said, what do I do? And she said, her chief executive is Bill McDermott. And she said, you should do what Bill does. I said, what? Talk to the customers. And you imagine a husband and wife having this conversation. I said, how can I talk to the customers until I know what we're doing? That will take several months. She said, maybe you could just listen. You know, you can imagine a wife saying that to her husband. And so I presented this, and then the next thing was I had to get the trust of our account managers, because I went on day one, I said, I need 100 customers. I said, if you will brief me, I will brief you afterwards. That's the deal. I will attach it to a Salesforce. So I learned several things. I learned that too many of our customers have a difficult journey, more to do with people, of course, than technology. The technology always works. I learned that we hadn't put the customer in the center of our organization and our organization strategy, customer centricity. We didn't really have that. I realized that it isn't 100 customers, 100 days. Really, all of our customers need to have a strategic relationship as well as tactical. There may be an implementation or a sales team, but they need the execs to talk at some point to give perspective on how things are going. On one personal thing, what I found was in any room I was in Stibo Systems, I had spoken to more customers than any 5 people. And so and I said this in front of the board last year, I said, we are going ahead with the Connect conference in Hollywood. And they said, oh, it's a lot of money and everyone's coming out of lockdown, and are we ready? And I said, yes, I've listened to the customers and they're ready. And it was right. And so there was actually a knowledge and credibility which has defined also our strategy and the things that we're trying to transform in Stibo Systems to meet those customer requirements. So it was the best thing I ever did. And if I ever changed job, I'd do that first thing again.
Cool. So sounds like, did you go there in person or did you talk virtually?
Just about, I would say that 2/3 of them were virtually. And then the last thing is that we then created a cadence. So for some companies, it's every 6 months, it might be every year, it may be in 2 months because they're going live. And sad to say, at the time, there were probably 3 customers in real pain, and they were weekly calls. And I would have to pull my team and weekly, until we got it right. And now they have my contact details. They escalate if they need me. I invite them to do that. And so my assistant, part of her mission for me is to get me in front of 5 to 10 customers every week. And we don't always manage it, but I know at Connect I will be face to face with probably 20 to 30. So it's a really important part of my role.
Yeah, okay, great to hear that. I really think it's very important also in a partnership that everybody cares for the thing we are doing together. So that's working for our customers and making them successful. So to what extent do you see our partnership as a strategic advantage for your company, and how do you plan to even strengthen that collaboration in the future?
That's a great question. So at the start of the conversation, I mentioned how important partners are for us. They absolutely are our future. And you see that we stopped paying commission on selling services. And we're working on paying commission to partners on upsell to existing customers. So I don't want any barriers to the partnerships growing. So I would say that probably 2/3 of the customer conversations I have, one negative the customer throws at us is the availability of Stibo Systems trained talent. They look at the kind of ecosystem and say, where can I find people? And so we have to invest in that. Now, in the last company I worked at, all our training was for free. Why would you charge somebody to learn how to use your technology? Now, it maybe in future we get there. We can't get there overnight because there is millions of dollars of money we make that we'd have to replace. But I think investing in the training, making it easier. If you can put your consultants' time in, we will put the energy of the trainers and the technology. The second is today I don't have a VP of Alliances, and there has not been one since I joined 2 years ago. And we are now at a point of a shortlist, and hopefully soon we'll have someone. So then the One Global Partner Program, which has been here for 3, 4, 5 years, I need to update that. I need to investigate that, get feedback from our partners, and then change that so that there are incentives for our partners to become gold or platinum or whatever we call it. But there's also recognition that there are many companies we work with who maybe are falling off the bottom. And I know today there are companies on our website that say they're partners, but don't actually have skills. And that causes me great difficulties when a customer selects them for their implementation. So I think we're only just beginning. In my 2 years here, we've changed a lot of things, but actually the whole essence of our strategy around partners is still ready and waiting to be opened up and taken to another level.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Another thing we are doing each year for 2 years now is a get-together meeting where we just meet and bring colleagues together. What's your opinion? Why do we do this? Why do we both parties invest? And how do we benefit from this? We're human beings are social animals. And for all that in the last few years we've learned how to use teams, but the magic happens when we all get in a room together. It's just when you start your relationship. And so last year at what was our sales kickoff, we call it PATH in Miami, because our partners asked for it, we had the partner summit the day before. And that evening, the sales teams came in, the heads of all the business came in to mingle with the partners. And so we will do everything we can to get our teams together, to build those relationships. And you know someone, I know someone, together we go win a new customer together. It's really, really important. Yeah, that's what also we think. We think developing the partnership is not only in numbers, it's also in personal relations, definitely. So from our point of view, and also from yours, we heard before, we've had many successful projects and satisfied customers over the last years. What is your specific feedback on projects we did with our customers?
That's an interesting question, because I don't get too much feedback because there's no noise. I often get feedback I sometimes get feedback from our customers about partners because they're not doing it right. I recently sat with one company, and they said, hey, we're about to throw out this partner because ... And I said, okay, let me go up and try to fix this. But you guys are just there doing the job. You're not trying to form super strategic relationships, challenging the CIO or chief data officer. You're busy quietly implementing and delivering. And the customer, it's very rare the customer says to us, thank you for a great system. What they say is, oh, this 2%, the functionality isn't what... That's all I get. So the customer time is often more on how we can improve, which is of course good to hear. They don't spend too much time saying, wow, this is a great partnership. Sadly, I would love more of that.
As we say it here in the area, if we don't say anything, it's compliment enough.
Yeah,
that's typical for here. Okay, so let's switch a little bit to the market view,
yeah,
and how everything is developing. So, what current trends or challenges do you see in master data management that could impact our partnership?
Okay, so I think the first thing is that whether we're strictly speaking, economically in recession or not, our world has been in stagnation for a couple of years. And maybe it started with Ukraine and gas prices and so on. There's been a number of bank failures, etc., which has made companies nervous. If you're spending your money on your gas and electricity, you're not spending it in the stores. And so I think firstly, our market has gone through a slower growth. Gartner say MDM software has grown at around 4%, which that's not a lot. Now, Stibo Systems, last year we grew 15%, the year before 17%. So we're out accelerating that market. But some of that is tied to wins of migrating existing customers to SaaS. So some of that is additional. So I think firstly, there's a difficult market. The second is AI is a whole new wave. And whilst, and it's a different way because normally there are months, even years of talking about a new technology before it impacts the world. AI has gone from concept to implementation incredibly quickly. And when you look at MDM, the master data management space, there are a lot of areas that machine learning AI can do to remove human-based painful processes. Scanning an image and uploading product data and then using the internet to enrich that could all be done automatically. And so I think AI, we have to have a story. And so at Stibo Systems, we're on that track, but we've got to move very quickly down there. That is one thing. The second thing is when I look at the competitors, and there are some huge companies like SAP and IBM that we never ever bump into, and even Oracle, but the rest of them from Informatica downwards are owned by private equity companies. And having come from that space, that ends up being quite a disruptive place to work and disruptive for customers. Private equities buy a company, they tidy it up, they dress it up, and then they sell a company. And this continual cycle is quite disruptive to build long-term growth. And neither of us have that problem. For you and your customer and Stibo Systems, we don't have that problem. We can think 5 or 10 years in the future, not, hey, in 3 years' time, we'll be owned by somebody else. The last company I worked for, we were sold from venture capital to private equity, and private equity then sold it to Progress Software. The people who remained in that company have gone through 3 transactions or 2 transactions in very close time. So I don't think that's a worry. I do think as we get towards the end of this year, businesses are starting to feel more comfortable with the economy. So, speaking as an amateur economist, a bad shock happens, companies stop spending. They can only stop spending for so long, and then they have to accept that this is a new normal and they need to start innovating again. And so recognizing that maybe sales are down and will stay down for 2 more years, they have to start investing again. And that will change the environment we're in, where a lot of companies are taking a long time to make decisions. The project team say, hey, we'll make a decision in September. The board say, delay it 6 months, 12 months. And I think on a more technology level, is part of our mission is to keep moving more technology from customization into configuration. Customization is hard to live with longer term. Configuration is always easier to upgrade. And I think that will also accelerate the implementations, but also open up the possibility for value add. And so when the cloud native migration or project is finished, I think in the multi-tenancy API first kind of headless technology base we'll be in, will actually give you a lot more opportunity to expand and build on top of Step. So long answer, sorry.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I've directly have several follow-up answers. So you talked a little bit about AI and machine learning. Can you also there dig a little bit deeper into how our customers will benefit from those solutions in the future?
This is so my degree was in 1986, so I'm 1,000 years old. But my final year project was a computing project, which was a learning game, and it was more machine learning than AI. So this isn't a new subject, but it's become way more accessible with things like ChatGPT. And but there's a lot of nervousness around this. You can read in the press about some of the mistakes or that have been made using AI. And so we've got to be careful. But the flip side is we've got to move quickly. Is AI a threat? Of course, there's a lot of conversations, and we've all seen Terminator and Skylab. But in our small world, it's going to be taking away human tasks and learning and improving. And even internally in our sales forecasting, I now have AI predicting the sales forecast. And we've only used it for 1 quarter, but it was better than all my sales leadership of predicting how we would finish. And so I think we only see not even the tip of the iceberg, but the snowball on top of the tip, on top of the iceberg of the possibilities for us. And we've got to move very, very quickly because there will be new entrants joining. I don't see them as a threat because, not a short-term threat, because MDM is very process heavy. And that's not necessarily something that AI can tackle straight away.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think it has just begun. But on the other hand, everybody is only talking about AI, machine learning. Do you see any other technologies or innovations in any other area where you expect to see some change in the foreseeable future?
Yes, I smile because this is something I'm quite kind of passionate about, really. If I start with, very simplistically, our product strategy has 3 pieces. Number 1, finish the migration of our technology to cloud native, and we're way on the journey there. We've had Boston Consulting analyze project plans, and that is going well. It just takes time. Number 2 is we are a multi-domain MDM company, and I would say that we're the best in the world at product or PIM, product MDM. But we have to build out the customer and supplier and the other domains. And so that's a big part of our strategy. So we can say to a customer that when you bought the technology and you built the skills and you've established your partnerships, hey, you can repeat it again and again and again. And a key piece of this is we're seeing a number of SAP for HANA implementations where we are doing the MDM across maybe 5, 6, 7 domains, supporting the SAP implementation and taking the risk out. So number 2 is building out these other domains for data. Number 3 is where I get excited. So I'm very proud of the fact that I think we're the best in the world at product MDM. And the bigger, tougher the customer, the more likely is we succeed. But there are 2 forces changing this world. Because for a while, even Gartner said we're stopping with our magic quadrants on MDM because nothing's changing. 2 forces. Number 1 is the amount of data that is classed as product data is exploding. And number 2 is the use cases, especially downstream where this data is going to be leveraged or employed, are expanding dramatically. So if I deal with the second one first, sharing data is exploding. And so we have 2 tools there. One is DaaS, so data as a service, and some great use cases where people can scan a QR code at the point of sale. Point of sale, you have a little shelf and a little tag and a price. Scanning it, looking at sustainability information, recipe information, bundles or offers. All of this are accessible through our DaaS service. And so that's sharing. It might be downstream within your company where they say, we need this information, and you use DaaS. So then the second area is sharing outside your company, and we use our syndication tool, PDX. And we see this as critical. And there's competition in this market, but the competitors are all trying to own that market and act like a hub. Everything comes through them. We're taking a different approach. This is we've got a connector. We're not going to own it. We're going to sell you a connector that will connect to whatever's at the other end. And we believe that is the way certainly our bigger customers want to go. So I said there were 2 things happening. One is the amount of data, and the second is the sharing. So the sharing is PDX and DaaS. The amount of data is transforming. And we are announcing at Connect in Madrid, PXM, Product Experience Management. Often we refer to that internally as rich content. So if I am looking on somebody's website at maybe, let's take an iPhone, and I can see the picture of it, I can zoom in, I can see the price, the dimensions, some technical spec. Does that sell the product to me? Now, an iPhone, you know what it is, but maybe it's something more complex than that. Wouldn't it help if some of the marketing material? So think about, the great cool advert that the manufacturer has put. What if that marketing material was there at the point of sale? And I can click on it and there's great music and someone dancing, I feel good, and I hit the buy button. And so suddenly product data is no longer dimensions and recipe and weight and package size. It's actually including all the marketing information. So now if you kind of kick back and go into some kind of drug-induced trance, where does this go? Well, it's converging on the metaverse. And the metaverse, people are saying it's no big deal. It will be. It will be. You and I become best friends. We speak all the time, but I live near London. You live near Stuttgart. Actually, you don't live near Stuttgart.
I live near Heidelberg.
Heidelberg, thank you. And maybe we want to see a movie together. So the future is we get dressed up and we cue the movie and we put on our goggles and we watch it together. Now we've got a beer and we're talking and say, hey, this is great. That's a good scene. Now think about that for a minute. We're cool guys and we care about what we're wearing. And when I meet you, I don't want a stupid avatar with a bunny head. Maybe if I was 7 years old, I want some new stuff. And it might be my new Adidas training shoes that are, really expensive. And maybe I bought those in the metaverse. And maybe the product seller, in this case Adidas, is making money from that digital transaction using EFTs. And so product information is going to head into the metaverse where the image of that shoe, perhaps, is that master data? It's certainly governed because it's important. It looks how it should look. And so, I can go on about this, but I think there's a lot of change here that is going to change product information, how it's shared, what is product information, and where it ends up. And getting into the digital world is certainly on the horizon.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Interesting. So many things are planned, how I see it. But we're also talking about the competition. That's also a thing we see. We've got many players on the market, many players in the industry. What's your plan to strengthen your and our joint position on the market, on this competitive market?
So the first is remember that we're there for the long term. And so when you analyze the competition, the companies we meet every day, not one of them is making a profit right now. That doesn't mean they're not well funded. They are well funded with private equity money, but at some point in the future, there is this bump where the shareholder wants a return. And we're providing a return for our shareholder. And so we already have the platform for long-term growth because there's no speed bump in our future. We keep doing profitable growth. But the challenge is that a lot of these technologies have been built. The challenge for us is the technologies have been built in the last 5 or 8 years, which means they've been built in a cloud-native environment, which means right now some of them are more agile in development. But as we finish our cloud-native project, and remember, a lot of our technology is already cloud-native, we've got to accelerate the speed of development of new features and functions. And so that's coming. So I kind of look forward today. I'm no longer talking about the cloud-native migration, and it won't be long. And how many engineers we have focused on that important project are actually focused on value add and leading technology. But the board of directors asked me 2 months ago. They said, "What keeps me awake at night?" And I can honestly say it's the challenges or opportunities we have inside our ecosystem, not outside. Our market is big enough for us and the competition right now. But we've got to become faster and more agile and more responsive and more customer-centric. Customers at the heart of what we do.
Yeah, that's also what we are seeing at the moment. Our customers are always looking for improved data management solutions. Can you share some examples of successful implementations in your software in different industries?
Yes, it's an interesting one. So we're not big enough to be experts in all industries. Every time we win a deal in a new industry, there is always something we have to go build, some piece of functionality. And if we're building it for the new industry, then that means that team is not building it for our existing industries. And so one of the things that's very important for me is a proactive focus on 4 key industries: retail, manufacturing, CPG, and distribution. And within a lot of those, we are the best in the world. And so, for instance, retail, it's not often we lose a retailer because our product has been designed and enhanced for that. In fact, if we lose a deal, I don't sleep well that night. I get pretty grumpy about losing that. We shouldn't be losing retailers. And so our win rate and our efficiency of implementation and our success rate are all dramatically different on those core markets than some other markets. Now, so I would love to spend 70-80% of our time and effort on those core markets. But of course, the world, everything's not black and white. A partner comes in and says, hey, pharmaceuticals. And a lot of pharmaceuticals is like manufacturing, but it's a bit more regulated. We recently in the US won a couple of hotel chains. And when the partner brought these to us, we said, hey, what do we know about hotel chains? It turns out their business model is the same as retail. They're selling products. And so when we engage with a new industry or a company from one of these lesser known industries, we qualify very hard. Is this right for us? And we're always nervous about distracting our technologists away from these 4 cores. I would rather be the best in the world at 4 very big key verticals than being a non-specialist across 20.
Okay, so no more verticals planned in the near future, as I hear.
So that's an interesting follow-up, because what I want is controlled growth. And so, for instance, when we look at pharmaceutical, actually we've won some very big customers that if you look at manufacturing, we're actually winning segments like automotive and pharmaceutical manufacturing on top of that. So how do you define manufacturing? Of course, it's but it's controlled growth. I don't want to suddenly win something left field that causes all sorts of problems. I want to carefully, knowingly step forward, and then we build our expertise. And then one day you see on the website saying, actually, we're really good at this now, and here's our references. But that's the critical thing, is control, not, if you like, a sales and partner network who are going everywhere. And some of this, go back to this point of efficiency, our win rate in retail is something like 70%. If we get 10 opportunities, we'll probably win 7 of them. In some of the other industries, it might be way down there, down to 10% instead of 70%. So efficiency-wise, if I was a seller in a company, which I kind of am, I know where I would go for those target verticals. All the references, the expertise, the case studies, and then when our partners know how to implement them, because we've done it so many times before.
Yeah, thank you. So last question in this block. How do we together ensure the best solutions for our customers?
That's a great question. So we are we're rolling out a new sales methodology internally at the moment. And some of that is about dealing with the world that is buying SaaS. SaaS is a rental. If you're not happy with a rental, you turn it off, like Netflix. In the past, we sold a perpetual license and the sales team drove for the border as fast as they could. And so we've invested in a partner success team and customer success team. But the real strength is going to be in joint account planning. And sitting with the customer saying, okay, where are we now and where do you think you want to go in the future? How do we make sure we've got the technology and the skills ready for that next wave? And so I think it's picking the accounts. It's not all the accounts, but picking the accounts and then getting deep in account plan of saying, what are we doing here for the long term? What relationships do we build? How do we engage with them? And how do we increase their return on investment?
Okay, so let's get back again a little bit more to the partner strategy. How do you see our further cooperation between our two companies, and are there any special initiatives or projects that we can look forward to?
Good question. So we have the One Global Partner Program, and I believe this is something like 4 or 5 years old. I'm guessing there. But I have held back from changing it until we have a new vice president running alliances, because then we need a strategic review. And there's some things in there I'd like to change, but at the moment, if I pull something, it's going to keep pulling and it might fall apart. So I expect within the next 6 to 12 months us to come out with a new strategy. For me, a partnership is as jointly marketing, as jointly finding opportunities together, and then the partner leading the implementation supported by Stibo Systems. Your business is mainly selling people, mine is mainly selling software. And so the things that we're putting in place here, one is we have a partner success team. It's not something that for you and your customer will really need right now, but they're a critical link point to our organization. So let me step back a minute. So reporting to me, there's a fantastic guy called David Lingley, and he's our Chief Delivery Officer. And he has a big part of our organization. He has our professional services. He has partner success, customer success, support, cloud operations, and training. And what I've said to David, I said, David, your job is to make sure every customer gets live and gets a return on investment, whether we implement it or not. So I said, sales team, go sell it. Our product team, build it. You make it work out there in the real world, which is, of course, chaotic and changing. And so David, in the old world, we wanted to do all the services. In the new world, we want to be involved. Yeah, and we've got to sell it to the customer more than to the partner. But then we want to stay connected with you as you go through the implementation so that we are not excluded from the customer in that first year or 18 months of implementation. So what have we learned? In the past, we had partners who had a great team, but their great team were busy, so they turn up with people with no skills. We had partners who never had any skills, but are somehow on our website. We have partners who go and the project goes wrong and the customer calls us and gives us a kick, and then we have to jump in for free and sort the project out. We have partners where everything goes perfectly, which is typically the case for you and your customer. And we try, and many more scenarios, and we try to put all these together, say, we have to stay connected to the customer during this period, so that we have to stay connected to the partner. We have to have an open discussion about where things are working or not working. If there is a feature in the next version of software that changes the way you implement, we need to make sure we're getting that information to the partner. And then, as I said, I think the partners will take an increasing share of our initial implementations, but we need to make sure Stibo Systems retain an expert core of services, because otherwise we die.
Okay. Yes, you just mentioned that we are successfully implementing solutions for our joint customers. Can you give us a little bit more insight? You mentioned just a few words like partner management or partner success. Can you give us a little bit more insight how you support our services to bring our customers to success?
Yeah, that's a good question. I want to turn it around in a moment to say how could we improve on that. So I think we have on the sales side, Jan, of course, here working closely with you to engage and help you navigate our sales team and get the right salesperson to build a sales campaign. Gradually, it will build to account plans or opportunity plans. We then have partner success, which we only started rolling out in May and is still a small organization but will grow, who will be more on the delivery side of, okay, what do you need on the delivery side? Not how do we go sell so much as how do we make this implementation work? I think we have rolled out new technology for our enablement, our training, and I think that's been well received, and that's going to continue to be an important aspect for us. And then we're also, I mentioned earlier with the 100 customers, 100 days, is establishing Stibo executive contact with the prospects and customers to help provide the umbrella under which we can operate and go and deliver. But let me turn that around. What are the things that you need us to evolve?
I think you've got many good things already in place. One thing is training. We are, I think, excessively using your training platform and training offer. We've got more than 90 trained colleagues in one of your courses or tracks you're offering. That's really great, but also there's always room to improve. Do you have any plans of your training?
Yes, I mean, I mentioned earlier that there is this concept of, do we eventually evolve to doing it for free? And we haven't made a decision on that, but that's certainly, we implemented that in the last company I came from. And we've just launched Udemy, I think it is, a new online tool, which should make things better. So training is a big focus. I think we're pretty good at our training as well. But I think with our partners, I think the starting point is having a strategy so that for you and your customer know where you fit. You know, you're not the global SIs, but actually we do a lot of business together. And you know, what you need protection from are the companies that actually don't have the skills, but maybe they, I'm saying this with a smile on my face, they buy a lot of beer for the sales team who say, hey, I've got a new partner, let's go after this deal. You don't need that. You don't want those guys. And at the moment, we don't really protect against those guys. And so I need internally a more formal process to say, and internally we talk about the stage 2 when we move from, is it an opportunity to, yes, we've got a sales opportunity, a formal process that says, let's sit down and see who we partner with. You know, there will be some where we go and do it ourselves, but not many. But typically, who's our partner of choice on this? Let's engage with them. Of course, the end customer may make their own decision, but the sooner we engage a partner, the sooner the partners engage with the customer, the sooner you build that relationship with the customer. So I think formality around the process and discipline on behalf of Stibo Systems of taking a decision based on the strategic landscape of our partners and who we want to work with, not the greatest cool company that's been set up 2 blocks from my house. And for me, a partner is one that brings us as much revenue as we take to them. And that synergistic aspect, I think, has been missing from some of the decisions we've made.
Are there any plans to involve the partners a little bit more into your product strategy?
That's an interesting question. I don't know the answer to that, but the answer should probably be yes. So we have a very effective consumer advisory board, and we meet, it's either once or twice a year in Europe and once or twice a year in the US, and we'll have one at the end of Connect in Madrid. The challenge we find is when you get a room of partners together, it's kind of co-opetition. You know, there's some elements of competition. If you say, hey, we need this feature, then, hey, why do I need that feature? We've got to think about that feature. Are we missing something? And so my suspicion is we may have tried this before and found that one-on-one it's good, but when we get a group to say, okay, prioritize all the things in our queue to build, then that doesn't work quite so well. We have the partner conference every year, and that's a really important point, and all my leadership team get involved in that. And what I find is the real interesting conversation happens in side meetings, not in the main. In the main, we're talking about our strategy and what's happening, and then I have 10 side meetings, including always with for you and your customer, about what do you really need. So I'm not sure that the partners can help drive the product strategy en masse, but you have a big influence individually.
Okay, so we're coming to our last question. What long-term goals or visions do you have for our partnership? And how do you plan to create even more synergy between our companies for the coming years to achieve even better results for our customers?
That's good. That's a great question to finish from, which is a kind of bright future together. I think the starting point is we're growing, and we're growing at 15-20% a year, which means we're growing our existing offices and we're going to move into new geographies on a very managed basis. I'm not suddenly in South Africa or Turkey or somewhere, but on a very managed basis. We have emerging markets, in Europe, Italy, really for us, the emerging market, and then of course Asia Pacific and LATAM. So number one is we've got to be working in a growing environment. The second is, as I mentioned right at the beginning, is the percentage of Stibo Systems revenue that's coming from our own professional services will reduce. Not dramatically by reducing our revenue or our headcount, but just because our top line is growing and this is staying flat. And so that automatically brings new opportunities. I think your business model is, I'm fascinated by. I find it very, very interesting, and it sets you up for managed growth. And I think as you continue to grow more cells into new countries, and at some point we kind of head east. Poland's a big market, actually. It's got a big GDP, and other places kind of east or even around the world, I think that will be really good. I think account planning, so we pick accounts and we work. It may take a year or 2 years to get in there, but we're going to be there for 10 years or more. That will add to us. But I think ultimately it's the spirit of cooperation that we have for you and your customers, backed up, again, I said this before, by great technical expertise. You guys deliver, and they're the partners. That's the kind of partner we want to have a future with.
Great. Thank you. I'm really looking forward to the next years. And thank you, Adrian Carr.
Jens, it's been a real pleasure, and thank you also for the trust you put in this partnership. Thank you.